already off the board, and Lysandra, Sahon Royal Club, don't want to see that one coming through. No surprises on the Viger ban, but we have seen it be unsuccessful, I think, once now.
It was actually EDG. They ran it, I believe, last week. Couldn't pick up a win for it. And then, of course, played it just in the previous games and wrecked with it. So the potential of Vega is there. Don't give any of these kind of curveballs to Starhorn Royal Club. Okay, you come in as favorites, but there's no reason. Like, Starhorn Royal Club do have 3 2-0 victories this season. They have got some points. Not recently. They've definitely been in a slump, but they've got confidence players. They've got players who've been to the finals of Worlds. There's no reason to suggest that if they have a good early game, they can't pull it out till late. It's just try and force them onto these off-meta picks, onto these weaker laners, and set yourself up for success. There is a world where Starhorn Royal Club can take a win today. Remember, OMG, they've kind of flooded to deceive, to be honest. They haven't necessarily been the world's best team that we would have proclaimed them during week 3 of the LPL. We'll have to wait to see the pick and bans end up as Jana and Kassadin are on the sidelines.
Yeah, one last ban to come through here for Royal Club. Kassadin, no surprise there. It seems that OMG just don't want to see the powerful picks to come through. I mean, there are the likes of Hecarim still there here for Insec. Jarvan is going to be the final ban aimed at Loveling here. A respect ban, but the likes of Rek'Sai, of course, as it gets hovered, are available. We'll see what they decide to go with. Of course, with Lysandra on the bench, you know, the other sort of high priority pick would be that Kalista and, of course, the Gnar, but we'll see what Royal Club decide to do. And a little bit of a cheeky Zed hover. Maybe a little bit of taunting to cool there.
The first person, though, to bring out Zed in competitive play was actually Insec on the jungle Zed when he hit international play many years ago. I believe it was the release patch of Zed, paid the jungle Zed before the nerfs came through on his E ability. The Shaco, that's obviously the one we all dream to see at some point during the LPL this season. It's usually a once-a-season wonder, but Hecarim and Thresh, very nice pickups to start off the draft for Starhorn Royal Club.
Yeah, of course, that Hecarim could be going into the jungle, but yeah, have a look at those summoner spells, and I have a feeling Cola might be taking that one to the top lane. The immediate response is going to be going, picking away that Gnar, and Loveling now has his choice, and Uzi is definitely going to take that Kalista any day of the week.
I didn't even consider the fact that Kalista's escaped the picks and bans. Of course, this is a champion, even with its struggles in form, that's so feared as Uzi's Kalista that's been banned consistently against OMG. It's picked away here. Well had a horror of a time against Kalista in previous games. Gonna take the Graves, gonna go for a laning matchup that's pretty decent early, but well, I mean, the level 2 spikes have been troubling him. Maybe Starhorn Royal Club want to get those aggressive wards down and just get that lane swap.
Or maybe just take the Gromp. You know, just make sure that you can get to that level 2 at the same time. Things aren't necessarily going to be as much of an issue. Cloud, thinking about a Nami, I don't know whether that one's going to come through, but Well's going to make it 5 Graves games in a row with this pick, and things have not necessarily been working out. And I wonder if it's just, you know, this is what he's most comfortable on, just hasn't necessarily worked out. Or whether, you know, maybe there's something that a trick in his sleeve he's going to be able to bring out. Of course,
some of these picks coming through late in the draft. I mean, this is Ahri in what, the 5th round of picks coming through for Cool. Cool's Ahri.
Yeah.
I mean, like, sometimes I don't say cool, I just say Ahri, because like he's so good at that champion. Like it's unbelievable how strong he is at Ahri.
Have you been playing much Cool in the solo queue recently, Papa Smithy?
I try to when I want to win. Of course, this is patch 5.2, so this is super powered Ahri.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And it's going to end up with Korn on also his signature champion, so at least he's going to have a chance to bring out the Orianna. We have not seen a lot of Orianna play. So many pick mages, the likes of LeBlanc and Ahri as well, really been hitting the picks, but this is Starhorn Royal Club with a very comfortable team. Of course, the curveball is the Hecarim top, but otherwise, definitely the sort of comp you might have seen them running back at Worlds.
Yeah, and there is this ball carrier situation here as well with both the horse and the cat possibly launching themselves into these team fights. Korn having fairly easy decisions with that shockwave. Of course, you get a fear on everyone with the Onslaught of Shadows. If you instantly shockwave, you're going to guarantee that hit, but we're going to go through these matchups, and Gnar versus Hecarim, as far as that lane goes, sort of 1v1, where do you put it?
Look, I think Na wins the matchup early. Of course, Hecarim just kind of wants to weather the storm. He can just maybe build the Phage first. He doesn't have to build armor. Builds towards Trinity Force. Just going through these matchups, there's so many power picks. Man. We're talking Go-Goings, Na, Cools, Ahri, and Kalista coming through from Uzi. These are scary pickups coming through from the OMG lineup. If they can't play with confidence and blow away Starhorn Royal Club with this team comp, then I really worry for them moving into playoffs. But Starhorn Royal Club, they have some power picks. They have comfort picks on a lot of their players. They have a chance in this game. As you mentioned, the ball carrier situation, wonderful for Korn, but the real risk with Orianna is that the game finishes before those 2 3-item power spikes come through from the Orianna. If it's just a 1-item power spike, it's just the CC. But if we get to late game, Starhorn Royal Club, they've got a chance.
Yeah, well, we'll see whether they can actually utilize that chance as we hop onto the Rift. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with OMG taking on Starhorn Royal Club, our final series of the night, but the first game of that series. And we'll see whether Starhorn can come out with a victory here. Of course, it will be a massive morale boost if they pick it up, but things are looking very dangerous because we have power picks across the board here for OMG. And one thing I really would like to mention is the Fate's Call on the Nami with the potential trampoline action with the double bounce. With the fact that you launch yourself in and then you can throw out that insta-bubble and you can knock them all the way back up again.
You could third time knock them up with of course...
Oh, man, the triple bounce. Unheard of.
Maybe throw in some other spells. There's a lot of potential for knockups coming through from the duo. You might wonder, okay, I don't see the synergy between Nami and Kalista. You might be like, okay, so Nami's more of a disengaged support, so he doesn't necessarily want to be in the middle of the enemy team fight. But the good thing about having disengaged supports with Kalista is it's a little bit different. What it allows you to do is to reposition the Nami after being involved with some disengage, maybe when she falls to low health, to the back of the fight to consistently put out those heals and just apply, for example, the Tycor's Blessing. So, for example, it's a disengage for your support. You're basically setting up your support to go move to the back of the fight and continue her role after being in the front. So you're not necessarily going to catapult it for engage. You're more going to keep it for the flexibility of disengaging your support from that death tick.
And there's also the fact that, you know, they have the Unburrow here from the Rek'Sai as well. I mean, there's just... I'm admittedly still on the knock-up train, but I'm incredibly excited about it, and we'll see whether OMG can use that to great effect because, of course, it lines up Charm so easily. Go-Going is going to be able to get massive Nas potentially as well if they get into a team fight phase, but this comp also works beautifully for just getting picks around the map as well.
I mean, the moment you talk about Ahri, you know there's going to be pick potential coming through. Loveling, it's not necessarily the highest skirmish jungle, it's definitely not the Jarvan, but can do plenty of work with the Unburrow in his own right. Strong laners across the map. OMG, they're going to feel confident, but Starhorn Royal Club, they've got Korn on the Orianna, about as favorable a champion, or at least hasn't played a lot this season, but a legacy champion, one he's so comfortable on. Insec, sometimes the Rengar works, sometimes it doesn't. You know the damage is going to come out.
But he's also played a lot of it as well.
He's definitely got his eye in, you'd have to hope.
Yeah.
If they can get snowballing, there's a possibility for Starhorn Royal Club.
Yeah, and you didn't even mention, you know, Zero on his signature Thresh as well, so we'll see whether they can make this one work, of course. We could mention that Well is on his signature Graves, of course, played a lot of it, but hasn't really had all that much success.
Not really nice of me to snigger about that, but...
Yeah, it's problematic. But Cloud and Uzi hanging out here in the brush, wanting to make something happen early on, potentially.
Usually it's level 2 that problems start, but with this aggressive start, something could happen.
Yep, the bubble actually not taken here as well, but what the heck was that damage?
I mean, the W does quite a lot of damage at level 1, and Graves doesn't have time to build up necessarily his True Grit passive, so he's taking a lot of damage.
You can see Uzi perfectly last hitting these minions as he positions himself so aggressively in this lane. And Royal Club already on the back foot down here. We thought that might happen, but maybe not instantly.
And Kohler was able to actually start. We saw this coming through yesterday. You can, Looper, I believe, show that you can start the Wolves quite comfortably with the Rampage, teleport into lane. It's not quite Sion. You don't even have to die, which is a huge advantage. And comes into lane with a Cloth Armor. No pots, but a Cloth Armor is a big purchase against all the harass from Na.
Yeah, actually, Zero taking a lot of damage down here as well. The Rend going to come down from Uzi.
Wells wondering how he ends up Imp one game and then instantly against Uzi the next game.
Like, guys, nice double bubble there from Cloud as Uzi comes through. Misses the flay there at the same time with that martial poise. And, I mean, this has been consistently banned against Uzi in almost every single game. Ganti, they knew exactly what was up. Made sure that they never let that one come through. And Going actually taking a lot of pressure here from Cola, but this whole wave now crashing into the turret, well doing the best that he possibly can to try and last hit under here. As the cannon creep does manage to go the way of the Graves, but so far things just looking awful in the bottom lane for Royal Club.
And the hook does come through onto Cloud, but there's no realistic way to take it and go in aggressively. Uzi is completely disregarding Insect's Rengar. Rengar wants to play aggressively, of course, wants to pick up some levels, get the first rotation of spells with the 3 levels early. They need help, and they need it soon, Atlas.
That's exactly right. I mean, why don't they have Nocturne and Twisted Fate that can use their ultimates off cooldown in order to
They could start at level 6, that'd be nice also.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, they just have to be able to take that one earlier on. We'd have to be able to make that one happen because, of course, it seems like a balance change we might need to put into effect in order to help out Royal Club because so far, bottom lane hasn't been able to catch a break. They're struggling with Cola. We were talking about the fact that, you know, these solo lanes have had success in the past.
And Cola, I think it's worth knowing, it's a massive purchase to start the lane with cloth armor. Of course, only the 15 armor in the late game, but in the early game, able to shrug off the harass from Going. I already told you, Nash should win this lane quite comfortably. Because Hecarim needs to get into effectively melee range a little bit further for the Rampage. He's able to shrug off the damage coming through, just pop the flask charges, and he's doing very happily in the lane. He's keeping up in CS.
Yeah, no problem here at all. Loveling was looking for some potential attention here in the mid lane, but instead, actually going to be tunneling around Korn here is cool. Getting aggressed on Korn, though, is going to fall down. That is going to be first blood going over to Loveling, and Cool took a lot of damage. Insec actually flashing forward here. He gets the kill onto Cool. Loveling going to burrow after him, see what he can do. That knock-up was insane, getting him out of that leap, but I have a feeling he might be okay here as Preyseeker does come through. There's the bowler as Insect struggling here just a little bit. That W for the heal was so necessary as he makes it under the turret, but 1 for 1. That is first blood going the way of Loveling, though.
Very clutch to be able to get up to the passive and be able to get out the empowered raw to get up the heal. Going actually makes a miscalculation, almost dies, has to flash away. Cola looking better and better in this top lane. He has to respect the Ignite.
Yeah, fantastic play here. Of course, the Ignite wasn't even used there, and I have a feeling like Rampage Ignite auto attack would have been enough to take going down. So, of course, that flash being highly necessary, but launching into that minion wave, probably ill-advised.
Probably ill-advised, but at least showed quick reactions to respect the Ignite range coming through and flash away. Keeps his life, gets the phase just to be even that much more annoying on now. We've already seen that this doesn't pigeonhole going necessarily into a Trinity Force rush. That's not necessarily the first big pickup, but Korn's in trouble.
Yeah, Loveling actually immediately returning to this lane, of course, with no summoner spells up for Korn, and the aggressive Ignite summoner spell choice here as well, meaning that not really a whole lot he can do, and this is what has been a problem for Oriana's, on this patch and in this season.
I do like the Ignite choice because at least it doesn't cede advantage. It doesn't say, I'm going to take barrier or heal and want to survive the lane. He's going for potential kill pressure. Okay, he was baited by Cool, put out the very tasty Ahri bait earlier in the game as the trades continue in top lane. At the end of the day, at least with the Ignite, he has the chance to go for the burst trades. He's going towards the Merlinomicon, maybe not the Athenes. It could still be the Athenes, but just trying to go battle for battle, keeping up in CS. Definitely doesn't have the roam options of an Ahri, but keeping it competitive is Korn.
Oh my goodness. Uzi's use of this Martial Poise is so beautiful to watch as he dodges out of the way of that Death Sentence. Continuing to shove relentlessly on this lane. You can see 57 to 29 CS. That's almost double at 7 minutes into the game.
No, it's more than double.
Yep. Yeah, that's in fact now more than double. Couple coming through, and that Aqua Prison not going to land, but with the threat of it there, things are always going to be scary. Actually, Loveling going to find Insec here in the jungle, pops a ward down. Loveling very healthy here as well, and the blue buff's live. Insec has to be careful.
The issue is that Insect's jungle path is going to be so predictable this game. You just look at the matchup being like, all right, he's going to need to gank for this bottom lane. You know he's going to be in the bottom half, and Insect's been caught.
Yeah, speaking of being predictable, Cool just catches him out, finds him at the wolf camp, and he's just going to return over and pick up a blue buff here as well. And this is the power of having your bottom lane so far ahead.
Let's just talk about how many levels ahead OMG are thinking and playing on. I love the fact that they understand, all right, Uzi is just completely styling over well, doubling his CS. So what's Rengar going to have to do? He's going to have to get a gank, and he's going to need to position around the bottom lane. If that's predictable, put the wards down, push your mid laner who's Ahri versus Orianna. Orianna's going to happily wave clear, not be able to rotate like an Ahri, and just have Cool come and get the assassination. If your enemy team's playing predictable and reactive, this is what you can do. At OMG, this has always been their style, and it looks easy.
Yep, all too easy here as the dragon falls down as well. Loveling just taking that one away, easy as you like, and, well, he's pushing up a little bit more aggressively than he otherwise would like. Only level 5 to level 6 of Uzi, who has the Fate's Call, just doesn't have anyone to throw right now.
Uzi just wants to appear tasty. Might have even tanked up some of the minions just to give himself a chance. Loveling's actually caught between Thresh and Graves, but gets to back away.
Yeah, he's going to walk through here as well, and with that level advantage, everything's going to be fine. Has lost a little bit of health, but Zero, now that he's got that side stone, a little bit tankier as far as that health is concerned. And, well, hit that level 6 here at the same time. So collateral damage going to be helping out. Picks up some nice CS there as Gogoing's going to miss his ult here on the top side. Onslaught of Shadows not yet used by Cola.
You can tell that Gogoing's a bit unsettled in this matchup. The cloth armor has definitely flustered him, as you say, and it's put him off in terms of understanding his trade damage early. He's just not getting the purchase on his early attacks that he would have expected. Even with the Phage, he's behind in CS to the Hecarim. And you have to say, I mean, the consistent storyline for StarHorn Royal Cup pre-Name joined the team. Oh, it might see an engage. Nope.
Yep, doesn't actually find it. Oh my goodness. Actually, Insect coming through, the deletion to come down. Cola with some perfect tanking of the turret. And Royal Club make it look easy on this top side.
I mean, it's the first time they've really gotten it together. Wonderful understanding between the members to understand how many turret hits to hit. The burst coming through from Insect's Rengar doesn't even have the warrior finished yet, but that was very cute. And what I was trying to say is, the solo laners, that's where the focus has been on with the revolving door bottom lane. But Loveling, he's found Cola.
Yeah, Cola, he's going to get knocked up by that, by the Unburrow, and that's going to be Loveling easily picking up that kill, and the dive is on here on the bottom side. Uzi just pressuring out this Royal Club lineup. There's the Death Sentence going to land, but the Tidal Wave to come through from Cloud, and that is going to stop any advance from Royal Club, as the tower, of course, did go down as well. It's not like they were farming between towers, but you can see OMG more than happy to be all the way pushed up here in this bottom side.
I do love the fact that he's not rushing towards the Hurricane, because of course going for the Blade of the Ruin King, you can still go a Ren-centric build. I mean, a little bit of AD, but that's not really the factor you're looking for. Still very auto-attack-centric build. But you're not going to be forced into pushing the wave against Well. Of course, Well, so much more comfortable when he can eat CS up as it pushes into him, because the Hurricane, your only option is to push a wave. But going for the Blade of the Ruin King, it makes him so strong in a duel. Of course, if you get in range of this Blade of the Ruin King, you're going to be able to kill this Graves, but you're also going to be able to hold the wave, ensure no safe farm for the Graves. I love the pickup as an adaptation in this matchup.
Yeah, and Gogoing, he does have his ultimate back up again. Loveling's hanging around here, looking to make something happen in the top side.
It might have timed out the Onslaught of Shadows. Not available. No escape barring the devastating charge.
Yeah, there's the Gnar into the wall here as well. The wallop and the knock up. So much CC available, but look at the healing done. Gogoing does eventually pick up the kill, but I think Cola lasts a little bit longer than OMG thought.
Absolutely. You have to say it was almost a buff if that was the shortened Mega Gnar timing. He needed to get into Mini Gnar to be able to close the distance to do damage. Insect, he's aggressively taking shots. He needs to respect Gogoing and Loveling.
Yeah, just a little bit. Loveling was looking to make a bit of a rotation to the backside of that turret, but you can see OMG, they're just going to take the turret in the mid lane here as well. Uzi and Cloud getting bored of the bottom side of the map. Now going to head to the mid here. Ooh, takes an attack dissonance combo to Uzi, but with that ebb and flow available with Cloud on this Nami, actually Insect coming around here, he may have found Loveling. There's the knock up, but it's not going to do anything. Insect, another kill. He's got his team on his back this game.
And he's got the extra long, so that's going to be a second Bruto. It's going to be the DPS build we know and love coming out from Insect's Rengar. But the strategic hole that StarHorn Royal Club are playing in, as we see so many members trying to get some exit kills in the top lane, is the fact that they've picked this Graves, and Graves is a lane bully. What is the point of picking Graves? He's going to be 41 CS and have no sort of wave control whatsoever in the bottom lane. That's kind of the disadvantage they're playing against, and there's not really any way to play around it.
No, it's sort of all based on how this lane has gone early on, and I think it's a lot to do with what you mentioned, you know, first up against Imp, now up against Uzi. Well, just seems a little bit outclassed.
He's outmatched, absolutely. I don't think that's unfair to say. He's not a world-class AD carry. He's trying to do a role for the team. You know, they desperately need someone in that AD carry role. Of course, it's always got a finite life on it. Name will eventually join this lineup. In other matches, he's looked adequate, but in this matchup and this weekend especially, just outmatched between Imp and Uzi.
Yeah, it's been a little bit difficult for well thus far, but we'll see whether Insect can carry ahead well enough here as well, because, well, actually, he hasn't been doing too badly as far as these team fights have gone. He's managed to get his collateral damage in the right spots, managed to position himself in team fights effectively, but right now, positioning himself under his turret as best he can. The Ren didn't even manage to come through here as Uzi tries to get that damage down, just dances out of the way of that death sentence, just makes it look easy.
It's just the lack of wave control though. Like, there's so many resources they need to put to bot just to potentially start to equalize this, double CS advantage, short of double CS advantage at the point. 144 to 80 is going to be very shortly. They just can't look to, and that's why Insect's kind of given up and just left. It's going to be Graves with a little bit of burst damage between the buckshot and the collateral damage, but not going to be able to offer much more. And OMG, this double down, throw more people into the bot lane, have Uzi look very, very juicy, because Cloud and Loveling, they're in his pocket.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, and I find it very interesting that now that Uzi is playing against his old team, he's playing in the same style that his old team was playing. Sort of this hard carry Uzi roaming around the map, picking up all of the farm that he can find, even hanging out in that mid lane, taking it away from Cool there just a little bit, who's still ahead in CS. And so far, this is just looking like OMG in complete and utter control. They're going to take another dragon here at the same time with absolutely no response from Royal Club. And at the same time, they're going to be ganking this top lane as Cola pops that devastating charge, but it's not going to do anything as far as protecting this turret's concerned. And going, despite having a difficult time early on, it's not a whole lot that Cola can do.
Yeah, I mean, Cola did his best in this lane, came and CS'd very well against Nah. He's done his job, but, I mean, we come back to the point I made in the draft. I said, okay, I want to see Star Royal Club pick for the mid game, pick winning matchups, push out their lanes, and stop what's happened this game happen. 3 turrets to 0 already. This is what happened against LGD 2 games in a row. But we're talking about Nah versus Hecarim. Nah is always going to be in a balanced situation. And look, to Cola's credit, it took a long time. He's going to be the first to take down a turret. He's going to have lane control more often than not. Ari versus Orianna. Orianna, one of the reasons you mentioned that we don't see her a lot is that she seeds lanes in often cases. She tries to farm passively, but realistically, she can't rotate very well because she's a slow champion. You know, she takes a lot of setup. She's not hit the charm all in like Ari. And in the bottom lane, unfortunately, they picked Graves for wave control, didn't get any, as Uzi styled all over him, and they've seeded all 3 outer turrets. They're just trying to farm under their inner turrets, and realistically, they have control over nothing. Look at the pink wards so aggressively put across the map, specifically in the top side of this map. So many wards and pink wards put down. And Star Royal Club, they have a little bit control over their blue buff, but they can't even think to come anywhere near the river.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, I love this from OMG, is the fact that they focused all of their vision control in this top side of the map. Actually, Insect going to launch himself onto Uzi here. A lot of damage potential to come through, even through the exhaust though. Uzi able to dance around, flashes out of the way of that shockwave as well. Cloud takes it and doesn't mind too much. There's actually the ult to be coming through from Uzi, but Cloud, for his trouble, going to launch himself forward to take a attack dissonance combo. And I don't know how they're going to be able to kill Uzi if getting caught out, still not going to die. As Cool actually going very aggressively in here as well. Nice dark passage from Zero. He's going to do some fantastic things on this Thresh. Is still a fantastic Thresh player, but unfortunately unable to have the beginning of this game that he needs in order to be able to make plays for his team.
We're going to see the Reaper. You know this one is with feeling. Remember, these are old teammates. They butted heads at Worlds. There's so much feeling between the two. The flash on the Shockwave is just majestic. Another of the reasons that we see Orianna fall out of play is that her initiation potential is limited. You kind of have to hold on to that cooldown because people can, at this point, have the reaction to easily flash away from that Orianna Shockwave. It does have that cast time. There was a lot of feeling, but Insect, even with the snowball start, couldn't kill his old teammate.
Yeah, unable to, and actually fell down in that fight, which I missed, because I was focusing on the fact that that Shockwave did get flashed out of the way of, but unfortunately, Rengar fell down at the same time. Didn't actually have the kill bounty on him, I don't believe, of course, falling down a little bit earlier on. But still, Uzi picking up his first kill of the game, and you have to think that it's going to be one of many.
Yeah, he's kind of switching between two items, actually picking up null magic mantles. Two members, Cool and Uzi, picking up null magic mantles. I guess expecting to take incidental magic damage between the onslaught of shadows and the shockwave. I mean, now you can position even more aggressively because the big AP purchases aren't available yet. You can realistically eat the shockwave damage and just use the displacement, maybe even as a gap close.
Well, that's the thing, and if both of these players are going to be building the likes of a QSS, you could imagine that Cool probably not. He's looking to pick up an Abyssal Scepter as his next item, but Uzi looks to be going towards that QSS very quickly, and if Zero, who has had some fantastic hooks, has now found Cloud. Oh, there's the Fate's call to come through. That was Uzi saying, no, don't focus over there. I'm here, and I'm killing Insect, so come over here.
Insect just gets knocked down. Didn't really commit.
The charm lands as well, and Korn's going to follow here. OMG just styling on Royal Club. They've already taken down this inner turret. The inhibitor turret going to follow here at 18.5 minutes into the game. There's the flash into the charm, and, well, oh, the collateral damage just dodged out of the way off from Uzi here. He's just going to destroy. Well, there's the render come through. Cola picks up a couple of kills on the backside, but Going's going to wallop him up, not into his own turret for a bit of manners.
And Starhorn Royal Club, they're caught in their own base, Atlas.
Yeah, smashed against their own base. That is awful. It's sort of like thrown to the table in your own bedroom. Really disgusting stuff as Uzi just going to dance around this inhibitor. Takes down the minions first because he's not too worried about this one. Gets played back. Death Sentence doesn't land here, but Zero, you might be in a bunch of trouble as, oh my goodness, no. Going to survive this time.
I think Uzi quite likes Zero, you know, whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing. Buddies over here, and Uzi going to spare his life just this once. 4-0-1 now, though, for this Kalista, and see what he decides to pick up next. Sort of, he's got a few options.
Look, the QSS, it's definitely too defensive, but the reason why it's actually important, you might look down and say, okay, but you can't QSS Orianna Ultimate. That's not what you need to QSS. You need to QSS the bowler, the Empower bowler especially, to make sure you're not in position to eat the shockwaves. Actually, I do like the early QSS being considered because the shockwave bowler wombo combo, that's about all that can deal with Uzi. And speaking of dealing with Uzi, he's coming to join the party.
Yeah, it's Uzi more dealing with Cola here as well, who's pretty quick over here. Crush going to come down from Going, lands the wall up there as well. The Aqua Prison to come down, and I feel like we shouldn't watch, ladies and gentlemen, as another kill's going to come through to Uzi. Loveling actually dancing over the wall here, flashes out of that shockwave, and Korn is just getting really, really upset at the fact that everyone seems to have that summoner spell up at all times. Going just going to leapfrog his way over and take another inner turret. Is that the last one? It is. No, second last inner turret. The top one is still alive, of course. Cool. Might be putting a little bit more pressure onto that one as the Abyssal Scepter has been completed. Uzi finally going to go back to base, completes the Quicksilver Sash, and now the Static Shiv.
And it's basically immortal.
Oh, Phantom Dancer instead. Decides he wants the more luxury option.
But he's basically immortal with all the movement speed and the attack speed coming through.
Insect going to find Cool here. Does land the Empowered Bowler, but he might actually die for it. Well, comes down, and there's the buckshot for the kill. Insect, he had a plan, and they followed through. So Cool's going to fall and make it 6 kills here for Royal Club, but there's still 8,000 gold behind.
Yeah, well squares up the KDA. Going to be feeling a bit better, maybe moving into Game 2, but maybe too little too late.
Yeah, it's true, and with this Kalista powering up so far. Has an extra longsword here as well, looking to build that Last Whisper as his next item. In fact, this would be a very similar build to what he'd like to go with on a Vayne, so maybe just alluding to the fact that he would have preferred to play Vayne this game.
Yeah, it does feel like that's where we're at. The pushing is very aggressive coming through across the map from OMG. They're going to set up for a second dragon, just keep pushing forward.
Yep, pushing. That is going to be the third dragon actually going down here for OMG is Cloud. He's actually going to just walk into a Death Sentence, and a very, very correct Death Sentence is Going. Not going to quite find the Gnar potential that he's looking for. There's the Onslaught of Shadows, but Uzi just going to dance around here out of the Shockwave as well as he continues the Onslaught. Well's going to fall down at the same time. That is almost a triple kill. Stolen away from Loveling there for Uzi. But that was some beautiful dancing from their star AD carry.
Yeah, Insect went for the solo kill on Cool for about the third, fourth time. Just wants to pick up some exit kills. Their base is in tatters, and they're going to keep pushing in, maybe even for the game.
Yeah, shambles here is the base of Starhorn Royal Club. As you can see, these creeps tanking up these Nexus turrets. Uzi just looks like he's having the time of his life dancing around these Nexus turrets. Able to even take down a ward there for his trouble. Blows the heal, I think, just for some style points. And the Nexus gonna fall down at 23 minutes into this game. 12,000 gold lead. And we're expecting something like this, but maybe not quite that level of domination from OMG.
And Atlas, if Uzi's looking for a new nickname, if he doesn't want to stick with Puppy, maybe Tigger, because he bounces around. Looks like he's having a great old time whenever he plays Kalista. And Starhorn Royal Club, what's there to say? They're just completely outmatched at this point. OMG, easy victory.
Yeah, it's true. I guess we already do have Piglet, and I could imagine that Well probably resembles Eeyore at this stage. We're going to go for that sort of analogy. That could be where it is. Going as well. He's happy, maybe feeling like the early game didn't go quite his way, but when he had a look down the rest of his roster, that scoreline for Uzi, 5-0-1 doesn't quite explain just how ahead this Kalista was, because that shutout in the early game was decimating.
I guess maybe a new champion for Well. You know, it's 100% Graves, at least if he had his last 5 picked, but the Graves not working out for him. The Kalista skipped around him in the early game. I mean, just the level 1, to be honest, set the tone for the lane with the aggressive brush camp. That's what you do against someone who's out of form, who's struggling, you know, someone who's been looked at as the weak link both in the public and potentially even on the team. Just try and bully them around. There was no better after the level 1, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's the zoom in onto Zero here as well. Still not actually looking too upset or anything like that. He's just got a bit of a resting smile there as well. So still sort of calm and collected, and we'll see whether Starhorn Royal Club can pick themselves back up and try and make sort of a name for themselves in their next matchup. Of course, it has been a day of 1-1s. And ladies and gentlemen, after the quick break, we are going to be back with Starhorn Royal Club trying their very best to fight back against the onslaught of OMG.